Hey you guys, so today I wanted to talk about 5 things I learned in makeup school and 5 things I didn't learn. This was another video idea from the lovely Jamie Page. And from the beginning of time when I first started on Instagram, I've had so many questions from you guys about where I went to makeup school, if I liked it, if I think it's worth it, all these different kinds of things. So I'm hoping that this video will help you to determine whether or not makeup school is something that you want to invest in. The first thing that I want to say before we jump in is that my experience with makeup school really depended on 2 things, and the first of that was my attitude towards my classes that day. If I went in and I was in a shitty mood and I was like, I already know this shit, blah, 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 then why are you paying for makeup school? That's why you're there to learn. And I really think that that ties in with not believing that you've learned everything at any point in your life. Even if you've gone to school, even if you've worked in the industry for 20 years, if you've worked in the industry for 20 years, you probably know that you haven't learned everything. But I see a lot of young artists that feel like they know what they're doing and they don't need anyone else's help or anyone else's opinion. And it's good to be confident in your skill level, but I do really believe that I've learned so much over the years. I've learned things from you guys, I've learned things from other artists, I've learned things from people who know nothing about makeup, just because sometimes people bring up things that you wouldn't think of because it's so second nature at some point that you're not even really paying attention to what you're doing. And sometimes it just takes somebody doing something a different way for you to be like, oh yeah. So I do think that attitude is everything, and you're going to get out what you put in. And if you go in with kind of a bad attitude and thinking that you know everything and you don't need any help, then you're not going to get much out of that class. But if you go in with a really open mind and you're wanting to learn and you're excited about learning, then you're probably going to get more out of anything in life. And the other thing was that it was really dependent upon my teachers. So I had about 5 teachers throughout my makeup course, which was 9 months long. And I had some teachers that were fantastic and they taught me so much and they pushed me as an artist and they pushed me as a person to just really, be more confident and work harder and all these different kinds of things. And I had teachers that taught me not much. So it really depends. Your experience with makeup school can wildly differ just based on your teachers, based on the school itself. So many different factors go into this, but let's jump into it. I'm gonna start with 5 things I learned. The biggest, most important thing that I learned in makeup school is hygiene. Hygiene is something that is very rarely talked about on YouTube because we are assuming that people are doing makeup on themselves, and even if you are doing makeup on others, we just kind of are talking about the techniques rather than the hygiene and how you sanitize everything and all that kind of stuff. There is a ton of incredible self-taught artists out there. You definitely do not need to go to school to become a wonderful, amazing artist. But hygiene was something that honestly never really crossed my mind before I went to school, and now that I do only my own makeup, I don't practice the same level of hygiene that I would if I was still freelancing and working on clients. And it's something that I personally have tried to look up just to see what kind of resources are out there for budding artists. And there's not many online pertaining to, the level of hygiene that should really go into working on clients. And it's something that's very important because it just takes one person getting an eye infection and you're out for good, man. And good hygiene also protects all of your investments, which is your products and your tools. So if you're practicing poor hygiene, not only are you putting your clients at risk, but you're also putting all of this product that you've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars investing in. Another big thing that I learned was set etiquette and how to talk to clients. Makeup artists have become particularly popular over the past few years, and it's now kind of seen as this glamorous lifestyle, but traditionally makeup artists were working in the back end. So it's always funny to me when I'm now working more so as like a model for a photo shoot, not because I'm a model, but because I'm an influencer. You know what I mean? It's funny to be on the other side and see makeup artists show up kind of acting like divas and requesting that people go get them coffee and different stuff like that, because traditionally, you are not Pat McGrath, baby. So we learned a lot about how to appropriately act on set, where you should sit, where you shouldn't sit, who you should talk to, who you should ask questions from, when you should stand your ground, when you shouldn't. A ton of different things that go into being a working makeup artist where you're representing yourself and how to act accordingly in a set full of professionals. And along with that, we learned a lot about how to talk to clients and how to talk to clients in a way that you are kind of addressing what you need to address without talking down to them or making them feel uncomfortable, because at the end of the day, we are dealing with makeup, we're dealing with people's insecurities, we're dealing with what could be seen as flaws by them or by us or whatever. So it's the difference between someone sitting down in your chair and saying, oh gosh, like you're kind of having like a breakout, let's definitely go for full coverage today, yeah? Versus something more along the lines of, I'm just gonna go ahead and cover up some discoloration and then we can move on to eyes. It's the difference of assuring them that like, don't worry, I got you, I'm going to get you covered, versus acknowledging that they're currently experiencing experiencing a breakout. Or the difference of referring to a client that might be a little bit older as having wrinkles versus having mature skin. It's just the difference of making your model or client more comfortable so that you can have a better repertoire with them. The third thing I learned, and this is a big one, and this is something that I consistently see YouTube teaching the opposite of, and that is cutting down on your kit, making what you have work, and using products for different uses. When we were in makeup school, we felt like we needed to have every product available. We wanted to have every single eyeshadow palette, every single pigment, every single lipstick, everything that was out there we wanted to have in our kit. And it was partially because it was an ego thing. We wanted to kind of showcase that we had, a ton of cool stuff and that we were keeping up with the trends and all that kind of stuff. But also because we genuinely just felt like if I'm going to do an orangey red lip, I have to have an orangey red lipstick rather than having a red lipstick and an orange lipstick and mixing them to be the color you need. But this ends up being so crazy because we wanted to have every single product that we owned packed into our kit. And the reality is, at the end of the day, if you're a good artist, you should be able to work with way less products so that you're not having to carry around as much stuff, you're not having to set up as much stuff, you're not having to waste as much time going through hundreds of products in your kit trying to find the right thing rather than being able to mix it yourself. This is also going to massively cut your costs because as a new artist, I know that it can be really stressful and frustrating to believe that you need absolutely everything on the market. You need 8,000 different foundation shades. If you're good with your color theory, if you know how to mix your product, if you know how to make what you have work, you won't have to spend as much money making sure that you have every single thing. You'll just be able to sit, have what you have, and make it work. And this is super important because you learn the skill of resourcefulness rather than relying on resources. Because we can all complain about not having enough resources for whatever it may be, but if you have that resourcefulness, you will make things work and you will figure it out. And there's nothing worse than an artist that shows up to set saying that they don't have this or they forgot this at home or whatever. You can make it happen. And you can take products and you can utilize them in different ways. For instance, there was one time where I was out of makeup remover. I didn't have any makeup remover at all, and I needed to clean up a wing. Two ways you could go about that. You could either take your concealer with a really fine brush and go ahead and clean up that wing. You can also take unflavored, no color lip balm, and it almost works the same way as a makeup removing oil does. And you can go ahead and take a little bit of lip balm on your brush and just like wipe away that wing, clean up those edges. It's just one of those things where if you're stuck, you don't have the products you need, you know that you can rely on your own resourcefulness to make what you have work. And this also really pushes you to be more creative because you're not relying upon, all of these products doing the job for you, but rather you making the products work. And like I said regarding YouTube, I'm sure you guys have seen countless videos where, you see people using like 3 different foundations, 3 different powders, they're using this, that, and the other thing. They're using so many products that most of us just can't possibly afford, and it just seems ridiculous for the average person when you're just doing makeup on yourself. You're not a beauty YouTuber. You don't need a billion different products. And it's funny because YouTube really does teach more, whereas makeup school taught me less, but make it work. Another big one for me was my timing and speed. So something that they really stressed at my makeup school was to always be cutting down on your time and speed because time is money. And it is crazy now having worked on the other side of photo shoots, like I was saying before, and having people do my makeup sometimes, I'm shocked by how slow some artists are, which is great if you have the time, but truly, who does? When you're working on a photo shoot and you have a client who has to be somewhere at 3 and a photographer who has another shoot at 5 and the creative director who has to get back to the office to do something else, time is of the essence, and you can't be that makeup artist that's sitting there eating up everybody's time because you're kind of slow, you're kind of lazy, just really taking your time perfecting things. But I really learned how to cut down my time overall, but also how to pass over steps that weren't really necessary and were more so steps that were created for selling features, such as working on things like color correcting when you're working on a model that does not need color correcting. And not to say that color correcting isn't necessary in some cases, but when these trends explode in retail, like color correcting was huge like a year-ish ago, a year and a half. Color correcting was massive, and we saw so many people on YouTube and Instagram that had flawless skin with no discoloration. It would have been completely fine with just a concealer, going in with 4 different colors of color corrector, but it's more so a selling technique that's really important in retail, but not important when you're working on a set and you have nothing but time limits. So it's things like that where you need to be able to look at your client, look at your model and say, okay, what do they actually need versus what steps aren't important for this model based off their skin tone, their skin type, and what look we're going for today. And that's where we go back into utilizing your products properly. Instead of using 4 different products to do an eyebrow, how can you use one product and get it done right now in a different way that's going to achieve the same effect as using 4 products. Another big thing I learned, and this kind of ties into the last 2 points as well, is the importance of brushes versus the importance of products. YouTube really pushes the importance of products over the importance of brushes because, again, products are more exciting, and it also ties back into that whole consumerism mentality where we're trying to push whatever's new, whatever's exciting, and that's what we're focusing on. But brushes really are kind of the unsung hero of the makeup world. You would be shocked by how much of a difference good brushes make. You can take an incredible product with shitty brushes or no brushes in some cases, and it will not perform the way that you want it to. But alternatively, you can take a product that is not that good and you can pair it with really phenomenal brushes, and suddenly you are fucking Pat McGrath. And it is something that even the people who really believe strongly in a good brush end up not talking about it as much because we're not rotating it out like we're rotating out product. And especially on YouTube, I mean, Soft Glam comes out, you guys wanna see Soft Glam. A new product from Natasha Denona comes out, you wanna see that product. And so we're not focusing on the brushes, we're not focusing as much on the technique side of it and how to utilize your brushes to make sure that that product's working well for you. We're kind of just talking about the qualities of the product and whether or not it's good and whether or not it blended well, but we're not talking about what brushes we're using to make that product work the way it did, which can lead to a lot of frustration on your guys' side sometimes, because if you're using different tools than we're using, we can have like a phenomenal experience with a product. We can be like, this product's incredible, like it blended out like a dream, it was amazing. The metallics are so pigmented and beautiful and textured and incredible, and you can get the product and be like, I can't make this work. Like it's blending out, it's patchy, it's muddy, I can't seem to blend the colors together well. Like, you know what I mean? And that really comes down to the importance of the brushes versus the importance of the product and how they work together cohesively. So let's get into what I didn't learn. The most glaring thing that I didn't, my attitude completely changed. I'm segueing into this because I'm mad now. The most glaring thing that I didn't learn in makeup school was how to do makeup on people that have a skin color other than mine. The way that my school was set up was we had our class of people, and they keep their class sizes relatively small. The largest class size that you could have is 16. I had a class of 8. And we would do makeup on each other every single day. So I would get my makeup done in the morning, I would do makeup on somebody else in the afternoon, and we rotated between people in our class. But if you had a class full of white people, that was what you learned. And this was an absolute shock to me when I was working retail and I was working on people of color. There is nothing worse than showing up to set and you being unable to achieve a flattering look on a person of color. It really does change the dynamic of the products. It changes how the colors shift. It really is such a different experience doing makeup on yourself versus on a different skin tone. Colors look different, products need to be applied differently, undertones really fucking matter, and something that looks absolutely stunning on one skin tone can look completely different on another person in a very bad way. You wanna be able to do everybody justice. You wanna be able to take care of your client or your model regardless of what their background is. Some of my teachers really didn't believe in working retail. They felt like this was such a dead-end job. They felt like there was no reason to go do this, but I cannot stress how much that helped me in terms of working on different clients. And not only different skin tones, but different ages, different skin types, because I was only working on the same 7 people that were in my class every day. So for me to go work retail was just the best learning experience ever, because I didn't have a choice. I wasn't working on these young 20-year-old models that had the same skin tone as me. I was working on 60-year-olds that were black. I was working on 19-year-olds that were white. Like, I was working on so many different people, and it really, really gave me the opportunity to learn how to utilize products in a way that's going to be most complementary to these different backgrounds, skin types, ages. And it's something that as an artist you want to really, really work on practicing in any way that you possibly can, be it retail, be it working on your friends. So I was really disappointed that I didn't have the opportunity to learn or even discuss what works and what doesn't on different skin tones. Another big thing that we didn't learn anything about was skincare. On our first day of makeup school, we super quickly glossed over that. We got given generalized products that were just kind of like, this is a toner, this is a moisturizer, and that was pretty much it. I would have really liked to learn more about skincare in makeup school, because it would have really helped me to learn about how skincare can interact with different makeup products, be it foundations, be it primers, whatever it is, but also how makeup interacts with different skin types. Because you have to take completely different considerations onto somebody that has oily skin and maybe possibly oily eyelids and different stuff like that versus somebody who has exceedingly dry skin and they're going to react to products differently. And I felt like we didn't focus on this enough. So again, when I jumped into the world of retail and I was dealing with a ton of different clientele, I felt like I didn't have enough confidence working on people who had varying skin types. And this also would have been really helpful when I moved into the world of retail, because if you're working at places like Sephora, skincare is a huge section in Sephora. And if you know a little something about it, it's really, really helpful to be able to help you push sales and stuff. And the other thing is that when I'm jumping on YouTube, I still to this day wish that I had more skincare knowledge so that I could more readily recommend skincare products to you guys with that knowledge in mind. And it also kind of sucked because for a long time I was buying kind of like fad skincare as opposed to skincare that had beneficial ingredients in it. Another thing that I didn't learn anything about was marketing. It's really a stab to my soul when people try to equate my personal success on Instagram and YouTube to having gone to makeup school. I learned not a single thing about marketing myself in makeup school. We had a couple days at the end of our course where we were supposed to talk about like the business side of things. This did not include anything about social media at the time that I went to school. I actually went back to the school that I went to and approached them about helping them to write a course on social media and how to market yourself online, because I think that this is incredibly important. You can have the most incredible, talented, amazing artist, but if they don't have the confidence to market themselves the right way, they're not going to reach the level of success that they should be reaching with the amount of work that they've put into the artistry side and the skill side and the experience side. And I do really think that when it comes to marketing, there are some key things that work across the board. You might not achieve the same success as some other artists that are out there, but you can definitely elevate your own success and your own experience if you have these good marketing tools in mind. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make things work with my school in terms of helping them to create that. So I'm not sure what they have going on at that particular school right now. I'm not sure if they've put anything into place. I know that they've extended the length of the course, but I'm really, I don't know if that has anything to do with marketing or if they've focused on that anymore, but I hope that they have. Because that was something for me that once I started marketing myself online, I was like, I paid $20,000 for my tuition and you guys didn't teach me what to do with it. And another thing that goes into that kind of like business side was that we didn't really learn anything about contracts and taxes. Contracts, it is truly devastating knowing how many contracts I've signed, knowing how many contracts other young artists and young Instagrammers and YouTubers have signed with no knowledge about contracts at all. And no knowledge about what they should be agreeing to, what they shouldn't be agreeing to, what kind of rights of their own that they should be protecting. Contracts are a really tough thing and they're binding and they can really hold you to something that you don't want to be held to, but if you don't know enough about it, you can unknowingly sign a contract without really knowing what you're doing. And the issue is that if you're new to it and you don't have a ton of money kicking around, you can't really afford to take every single contract to a lawyer to be read over. And that's time consuming. And sometimes people are wanting you to agree to stuff right now. So if you don't have that knowledge in place, you can end up getting really, really screwed over. And I'm again disappointed that we didn't learn more about that in makeup school, because I walked into a lot of situations that I shouldn't have walked into and I was tied down for a long time and I wouldn't have been if I had known more. And taxes, this is so boring for most of you probably, but taxes are important. And if you are a freelance artist and you're working contractually and you're not working for, say Sephora, taxes are super important and you need to know what to do, what you can write off, what you can't write off, how to do your taxes properly, how to keep all of your stuff compiled. Because for me, my personal taxes now as an Instagrammer, I file my taxes as somebody that's self-employed. I compile all of my pay stubs throughout the year. So if I get paid from Estee Lauder, I take that pay stub, I put it away. If I get paid from Smashbox, I take that and I put it away. If I get paid from NYX, I take that and I put it away. And at the end of the year, I have to go and file all my taxes. I have my US invoices and I have my Canadian invoices. I have all my receipts of things that I bought throughout the year, like cameras, makeup for YouTube videos, brushes, travel expenses, food when I'm traveling for work, just different things like that. Everything that goes into what I do, I compile that as well, and you can write off a percentage of that to count against your taxes. And they should have taught me that in makeup school, but they didn't. Another thing that I didn't learn, or rather was taught to me, but I believe shouldn't have been taught to me, was to take every opportunity. This was something they stressed massively in makeup school. They were like, take every opportunity that comes your way. Make sure you go there, rub elbows, blah, blah, blah. So I fucking did. For a long time, I fucking did. I took every opportunity that came to me, which in theory is great because you're getting tons of experience, you're working lots, you're meeting tons of people. The problem with this is that I had absolutely no luck transitioning these unpaid jobs where I was rubbing elbows and getting experience to paid jobs. So I did a lot of shit for free, and I did a lot of shit that I shouldn't have done for free when everybody else on set was getting paid and I wasn't. And they really didn't teach us anything about how to transition over to, okay, yes, I've rubbed elbows with these people, but now how do I get paid work from them? Because if somebody knows you'll work for free, you will continue to work for free for them until you basically say, I'm not going to work for you anymore. And at that point, it was basically a 0% chance that they would be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna continue to work with you anyways because I love you and because you've showed up for work and you've rubbed elbows with me and I know you're good. They're like, great, I'm just gonna go head back to your school and I'm gonna go pick up the next graduate that's gonna work for me for fucking free. Something you will notice as an artist, actually something you'll notice in basically any industry, they really don't care who does the job better, they care who does the job cheaper. And so I spent a lot of time doing stuff for free. I spent a lot of time working my ass off, and I spent very minimal time getting paid for my work. But it was because I was just constantly telling myself, no, like I have to do this, I have to pay my dues, I have to rub elbows, and I do think that's important. I think when you're starting out and you don't have much experience, I do think it's important to take opportunities just for the experience alone and knowing that it's lending to your overall career. Don't take every opportunity, take every opportunity that speaks to you personally, that you value in some way, be it monetary, be it experience-wise, be it the opportunity to travel, whatever it is. If there's something that you personally see, you see some kind of value in that opportunity, then take it. If you don't see any value in it, but you're taking it just because you think you should take every opportunity, don't do it. And lastly is, this sounds silly, but confidence. And the difference between learning skills versus skill level. I could take any one of you, I could sit you down in a room, I could teach you every single thing I know. That doesn't mean that you're gonna have the confidence to go out and do it. And not only confidence in being able to utilize the skills that you were taught, but also creativity. Someone asked me if I felt like I was able to learn how to be more creative through makeup school, and I don't wanna say that that's something that can't be taught, but a little. Certain people thrive under different circumstances. So for instance, I could hand every single one of you a piece of paper and say, draw. There would be some of you that would draw a masterpiece and it would be amazing. And there would be some of you that would say, but what? What do I draw? And I could do the same thing. I could hand every single one of you guys a piece of paper and I could say, draw something you'd find in the woods. And some of you would thrive better under that sense of direction and being able to be like, okay, I have a starting point. I have something to kind of kick me off. And now I am going to be able to create better based on the fact that I have some kind of limitations. And you might be that person. You might be that person that needs a little bit of direction to really help kickstart your creativity, whereas other people are just born artists and it just comes from within and they know what they're doing and that's just it. So it's really reliant upon the person. I don't think that there's any set way that I can teach you how to be creative, but there are ways that I can coax you into it. But in terms of that confidence, I really do believe that it comes through just experience and working your ass off, and that was something that could not be taught in a makeup school, no matter how much I paid them. So you guys, that's everything. 5 things I learned, 5 things I didn't learn in makeup school. If you have any other questions about makeup school, my experience, whatever it may be, let me know in the comments below. I'll get back to you probably. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.